Welcome to the Infographics channel. Today we will discuss the infographic titled Family Business as a Share of GDP, published by Visual Capitalist and prepared by Dorothy Neufeld and Sabrina Lamb based on data from Therawatt, the International Monetary Fund and Fortune. Graphic published at the end of 2023. In the second part of the material, we will present the 10 oldest companies in the world. It is worth watching this material until the end. The authors inform us that globally, 90% of companies are family businesses. They are a key factor in economic growth, creating millions of jobs. Unfortunately, no criteria were provided for recognizing a given company as a family business. It should be noted here that there are many definitions. We intuitively understand that a family business is a company controlled by its founder or his relatives in the first or subsequent generations. However, there are many definitions. Examples are given in Daniel van der Vliet's publication, the link to which can be found in the video description. Before we discuss the infographic, I would like to make two technical comments. Firstly, the list shows random countries. These are not countries with the largest share of family businesses in GDP, nor are they special in any way. The authors chose these countries according to their own criteria, about which we know nothing. Secondly, the infographic does not show the number of family businesses in the selected countries. The percentage of GDP generated by family businesses in a given country is presented. The value of this GDP in US dollars is also given. If we had data for all countries, it would certainly be easier for us to make more analytical and comparative observations. But we rely on what we have. The nature of infographics only allows us to make general statements. Let's look at India, first from the left, where family businesses account for almost 80% of GDP. The authors note that family businesses even include the largest Indian conglomerate in terms of capitalization, Reliance Industries. Today, Reliance Industries is considered the world's largest family company. Thanks to this mention, we realize that family businesses are not only small businesses, but also gigantic behemoths, in which the helm is held by the founder or his family. Other examples of family-owned corporations include the largest supermarket chain in the United States, Walmart, the German automotive giant Volkswagen, and the world's largest luxury goods manufacturer Moët Hennessy Louis Vuitton. One more small anecdote about the Indian market. Once, an Indian friend studying in Europe told me that his father had set up a local bank in the Ahmedabad area based on the capital he had accumulated by maintaining a waiting list for a previously existing local bank. There were so many people queuing up that keeping a queue list allowed, after a few years, to raise enough capital to open a competitive branch and grant their own loans. This is an example of how you can scale a business in India based on the world's largest population. Next we see 5 countries where family businesses are responsible for generating approximately 70% of GDP. Among them, Spain, Italy, the United Kingdom and Portugal, i.e. Old Europe. An uninterrupted economic history for centuries, fortunes built during colonial glory. All this can be found among some family businesses operating in these markets. But there is also Mexico. It is difficult to analyze in this random and small sample whether Mexico is achieving the same results as Spain due to its influence in the past centuries. I see a common feature among these 5 countries. Well, when I walk the streets of local towns and metropolises, with local street businesses such as shops, restaurants, and small service establishments, I see the stability resulting from the tradition of shopping by local residents. This applies especially to older buildings, rather than to the newest housing estates. High density of small premises. In Poland, for example, the density of supermarkets of the largest retail chains is so high that it is almost unprofitable to run small grocery stores, often family businesses, in most locations. This will not always mean that the above-mentioned phenomenon will reduce the share of family businesses in the GDP of a given country, because among the largest grocery chains there are also family businesses, e.g. Lidl or the above-mentioned Walmart. Moreover, the phenomenon of franchising allows family businesses to run various types of businesses under a purchased brand. Canada 60%. An intermediate result between Old Europe and the next group. The only observation I have is that Canada, in my subjective opinion, seems to have a slightly more European character than the USA, but nevertheless it is more American than European. Please note that the value of the analyzed indicator places Canada between the countries of Old Europe and the United States, but closer to the latter. The next group of countries includes 3 countries where family businesses generate approximately 50% of GDP, the USA 54%, China 51%, Germany 49%. This is an interesting group because of the values achieved. These are the 3 most powerful economies in the world. And in each of them, half of the GDP is generated by family businesses, and the other half by companies with a different ownership structure. It comes to my mind that the economies that operate most efficiently are those that have powerful, globally operating corporations and create good conditions for the development of family businesses. I guess that the legal environment and business culture that enable the transformation of family businesses into organizations managed by people not related to the founder are also important. At the same time, these results may indicate that statistically, companies managed by people not related to the owner's family operate more efficiently. If it were otherwise, in these 3 economies family businesses would be responsible for a larger share of GDP generation. I will make a technical note here. Seeing the 3 strongest economies in the world next to each other, I try to notice patterns, but with no guarantee that they will be accurate. If we had a list of all countries, it would certainly turn out that family businesses also generate approximately 50% of GDP in countries that are not world economic powers. Let this observation make us realize how much the exposure of selected data can influence the conclusions drawn. Next, we have 2 countries where family businesses are responsible for 40% of GDP, Ecuador from South America and the United Arab Emirates from the Middle East. Different locations, one common feature: hydrocarbon exports constitute their dominant export position, 40% and 77% respectively, and thus influence GDP. I don't know the figures for Ecuador, but for the United Arab Emirates it is about 30% of GDP. Companies in the hydrocarbon industry are usually large conglomerates and are not always family-owned. Another country presented in the infographic is the Netherlands, where 25% of GDP is generated by family businesses. This is a very low value compared to other European countries in this ranking, especially since the Netherlands is also a country with centuries of economic continuity. What could be the reasons why Dutch family businesses are responsible for only a quarter of GDP, while, for example, British ones are responsible for 2/3 of GDP? I would look for the answer in a high business culture and favorable conditions, including tax ones, for running capital companies. It is worth remembering that the first known joint stock company with international shareholding was the Dutch East India Company, founded in 1602. What I will say now is only my private opinion, but compared to the other Europeans mentioned here, the Dutch seem to approach international business ventures in a more collaborative manner. And it must always be a joint venture, and there is no room in such arrangements for favoring one family. The last case discussed is Indonesia, where 10% of GDP is generated in family enterprises. The 4th country in the world in terms of population, approximately 15th in the world in terms of GDP strength. Industry and raw material extraction account for approximately 1/3 of GDP. In my opinion, this factor may be responsible for the low share of family businesses in Indonesian GDP. Or maybe cultural factors play an additional or greater role, including, for example, the influence of the trading post of the aforementioned Dutch East India Company on the present-day shape of Indonesian enterprises. Personally, I am also an entrepreneur, and from my point of view I can tell you that almost all companies in the initial period are family businesses. Entrepreneurs are usually supported in the initial period by their immediate family, parents, siblings, and spouses. After this annotation, we will move on to the list of the oldest companies in the world. Some of them still have a family character, others do not, which is not surprising considering the history of over 1,000 years. 10th place. The Royal Mint. Great Britain. Year of foundation 886. 1,138 years of activity. The company belongs to the British royal family and produces metal money. You can see that this must be a thriving business. 9th place. Tanaka IGA Butsugu. Japan. Year of foundation 885. 1,139 years of continuous activity. The company is managed by a representative of the 70th generation of the family, Masakazu Tanaka. The company produces Buddhist devotional items. 8th place. Monet de Paris. France. Year of foundation 864. 1,160 years of activity. The company founded by the French royal family has been continuously producing coins. The company was nationalized. 7th place. Staffelter Hof. Germany. Year of foundation 862. 1,162 years of continuous activity. It is a vineyard, distillery and hotel. Interestingly, Staffelter Hof is also the oldest continuously operating vineyard in the world. The company has changed owners, but is currently managed by the 7th generation of one family, which bought the vineyard in 1855. 6th place. St. Peter Stiftskillenarium. Austria. Year of foundation 803. 1,221 years of continuous activity. Founded as an inn in Salzburg, today it is a prestigious restaurant, bearing the title of the oldest in the world. 5th place. Genda Shigeo Japan. Year of foundation 771. 1,253 years of continuous activity. The company produces ceremonial paper and gift packaging, including for the imperial court. 4th place. Hoshi Ryokan. Japan. Year of establishment 718. 1,306 years of continuous activity. Owned by the 46th generation of the Hoshi family, a traditional hotel in Ishikawa Prefecture. 3rd place. Koman. Japan. Year of foundation 717. 1,307 years of continuous activity. Owned by the 46th generation of the family of founder Hyuk Gonakam, a traditional hotel in Hyogo Prefecture. 2nd place. Nishiyama Onsen Kyunkan. Japan. Year of foundation 705. 1,319 years of continuous activity. Founded by Fujiwara Mahito, a member of the imperial court, the hotel is today considered the oldest operating business in the world. The hotel was built next to hot springs and today belongs to the imperial family of Japan. 1st place. Kongo Gumi. Japan. Year of foundation 578. 1,446 years of continuous operation. The company operates in the construction industry, specializing in the construction and restoration of religious and historic buildings. The constitution of the company allowed it to be run not only by the sons of the heirs, but also by the sons-in-law, which enabled its continuation in the absence of male offspring. The last president in the 40th generation was Masakazu Kongo. In 2066, the company was purchased by Takamatsu Construction Group. You have probably noticed that all 5 of the oldest companies in the world are Japanese. The Japanese are a very conservative nation. As many as 56% of companies in the world older than 200 years are Japanese. German companies constitute 15% of this group, Dutch companies 4%, French companies 3%. You can see the oldest 20 companies still operating today on the map. Did you know that 8 British companies still operating today are also on the list of the oldest in the world? In addition to the mentioned mint, these include 2 pubs, 3 hotels, a water mill and a port. Thank you for attention. I encourage you to watch the remaining episodes on our channel. I invite you to comment on this material in a factual manner.